Waste Management hosting its Investor Day here in New York City yesterday. And joining us right now to talk about market trends, labor, and much more is Jim Fish. He's the CEO of Waste Management. And Jim, welcome. It's good to have you here on set with us.
Good to be here.
So you talked about some pretty aggressive numbers for 2027. 2027, you're looking for revenue of somewhere between $28.5, $29.25 billion. Adjusted operating EBITDA somewhere between $8.85 billion and $9.15 billion. I mean, those seem like aggressive goals. I was surprised to see the stock traded off just slightly, down maybe 0.25% yesterday.
Yeah, it's always hard to predict what the stock's going to do day in and day out, but
those were more aggressive goals than
I think they were. They were more aggressive than they expected. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the stock trade up. But I mean, look, when we look at it over the long term, over 10 years, it's been up 500% almost, which is kind of almost 2.5 or 3 times what the Dow's been up. So really the story yesterday was, what are we going to do going forward to drive those types of numbers? It's really driven by a couple of things. It's driven by sustainability, not just to feel good about ourselves, but really to drive strong returns for shareholders. It's driven by technology. It's driven by healthcare and our strong business.
Let's talk about some of those divisions, because you are expecting some really impressive growth in revenue, especially for the sustainability business, 14 to 15%.
Yeah.
That's a big jump. How does that work? Who pays for these things? Where do you see the growth?
So the big investments that we announced a few years ago, about $3 billion worth of investments, about half of it in automating our recycle plants, and then the other half was in renewable natural gas. And those automations reduce, when we automate those plants, we're reducing labor by 35%, not because we want to let anybody go, just because those jobs tend to turn over pretty quickly. And at the same time, we're improving the quality of the material coming out of the back end of the plant. So those have really nice returns. And then these renewable natural gas plants, the landfill produces gas, and so why not take that gas and turn it into renewable natural gas, which, by the way, then powers our fleet. Our fleet is about 75% CNG, so you're creating a full circle there. And because you have a CNG fleet, you can sell the RIN credits, which make that a really good business for us as well.
And the healthcare solutions unit, that's for waste coming out of hospitals, everything from the normal waste that would be coming out, but to some of the hazardous stuff, too, like sharps, needles, and things. Yep. That's a specialty business.
It is. But I guess if I were to ask you a decade ago what businesses are going to be really good going forward, I mean, we are aging as a population. I read that 1980 we were an average age of 29 years old. Now we're 39 years old. So healthcare has to be a beneficiary of that. And that's why we've been interested in it for a while. But years ago, when we looked at Stericycle, it would have been kind of a bet the company acquisition. Because we've grown so much, it was really more of a tuck-in for us. We love the kind of the secular trend that we'll be able to take advantage of.
You're looking for additional tuck-in acquisitions that you could make, too. You think somewhere between 0.5% and 1% of revenue growth will come from that. What kind of areas do you have your eye on for that?
That's just going to be probably our traditional solid waste business. It still is a pretty fragmented business. About half the business are kind of small companies that oftentimes look to sell.
That was Wayne's whole idea.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And you still got it.
And we still have it.
You're halfway.
No, he's exactly right, Joe. Joe, the business was a big rollout when it was under Huizenga.
Yeah,
Republic does the same thing.
Yep, yeah. Rolled those up. How are people? Is it recession trash? Is it boom trash? Is it right in the middle trash? How much trash are people? That's a good indicator. It's like the highway.
It's funny. Since 2000, if I were to ask you what has trash done since 2000, you probably would say, well, it's gone down because we're recycling more. And we are recycling more. But trash has continued to climb, and we just produce more trash for whatever reason. So we help take it off the street and put it someplace safe.
So a strong economy based on what you see, or just
the economy sure helps. But the economy's been fine. It hasn't been terrible. It hasn't been fantastic.
You can get natural gas from a landfill. Can you do that?
So we get it produces gas. And that gas we put through a renewable natural gas plant that turns it into pipeline quality gas, and then we put it in our trucks.
I mean, that's too good to be true, isn't it?
Well, it happens. That's what we're doing. I would tell you the free cash flow from that business, here's kind of a quick number for you. In 2012, our total company free cash flow was $829 million. Just from those businesses, it's going to be 3/4 of that by 2027.
We had a guest with us who was a former deputy mayor in New York City who suggested that New York City still has office vacancy issues that are 4 to 5% below what it was pre-COVID pandemic. What do you see just in cities across the country in terms of back to work? Because you can measure that too.
During COVID, the business really shrunk considerably because everybody left the downtown area, New York included. But most cities have come back pretty strongly. Houston, where we are, has come back. But we're in every city across the U.S. and Canada, and most cities have bounced back. I hear most companies are going back to work 4 or 5 days a week. And that was a big impact when companies were only working 2 days a week in the office and 3 days a week at home. It was impacting the amount of recyclables, the amount of trash that they were generating. Now, most companies are back 4 or 5 days a week.
Let's talk a little bit about the job market. You mentioned that you see a lot of turnover, especially on the back of trucks, trying to get people who will stay in those jobs. As a result, you've gone a lot to automation. But what do you know about the jobs market, and what can you tell us about the automation?
One thing we know about the jobs market as we think about demographics is that labor market, particularly for trade-type jobs, which is mechanics and drivers, is really shrinking. And so how do we take advantage of that? Because we employ a lot of trade-type positions. And so we're using technology in a couple of ways. One is, as opposed to the old-style rear loader that you used to see running around your neighborhood, we have those side loaders with the arm on the side. And that removes a very hard-to-fill position off the back of the truck. You can imagine that's a hard position to fill. And then I've challenged our team to produce an autonomous truck with our OEMs over the next 2 years that would ultimately, over time, have nobody up front running around a neighborhood without a driver. And,
really?
And you see that in Phoenix, you see it in Austin, the Waymo
That's already
vehicles.
taking place right now?
No, but the technology is certainly there. The Waymo technology is there. I've ridden in these driverless vehicles, and so the technology is there, and now we've just got.
This seems like a heavier lift, so to speak, though, than
well,
just
I think from a regulation standpoint, maybe, and from a public perception standpoint, do you want one of those trucks prowling around your neighborhood? And so we would have a driver up front initially. It's not going to be a labor savings issue so much as it is an efficiency
initially
and safety issue.
But over time, you just have to have one person in the back.
I think that's right.
And does it ever become completely robotic?
I think you can take that automated side loader and ultimately, over time, and I don't know what that is, that 10 years from now, is it 5 years, but turn that into a truly autonomous vehicle where it recognizes the trash can, there isn't anybody up front, it recognizes that trash can, picks it up, and moves to the next one. And so I do think that can be similar to a Waymo vehicle that picks you up at a restaurant and runs you to another place.
Can you program the side armor so it throws the trash can on the side in the middle of my driveway? I mean, because that's not the way.
We'll see what we can do.
Okay.
We'll see
they put it right back down.
They can make that special for you.
They do that.
Right. Just especially for you.
Yeah, right.